Welcome to Uncharted, the Young Professionals podcast. I'm Chris Desir,
And I'm Eric Noam.
and today's episode is Composure. So Eric, I know you're a fascinating student. You have a lot of things going on right now, your hands in different things. How do you keep composure and make sure your head doesn't wander off in the wrong spot and get overwhelmed?
Well, you see, there's a lot of times where I feel myself getting overwhelmed, and I just have to take a step back, realize who I am, what my purpose is, and take a deep breath and recharge and prioritize what I have on the table.
Yeah, prioritizing. That speaks to me a lot because I find myself getting overwhelmed, of course.
Right.
We're college students.
Right.
We're susceptible to stress. It's going to happen. It's going to come at some point. Going back to what we said about adversity, it's a form of adversity. It's all about how you respond to that and how you address that stress. For me, my coping mechanisms are, like you, stepping back, like assessing the situation, and reminding myself who I am. Some unhealthy habits I have is just getting in my head a little too much, and that's something that I think could be detrimental to success. Being in your head too much can cause some not so great thoughts. And how do you think you adjust with those thoughts when they come in your mind, when everything's piling up at one time?
So I think one of the biggest things is really fully assessing the situation and understanding okay, so it's not the end of the world. A lot of times things do add up and it builds up and it creates negative thoughts, like you said, and a lot of times these negative thoughts can really bring you down because you just get this overwhelming sense of fear, anxiety, am I going to meet this deadline? Is it going to be at the best of my ability, or am I going to fail? And I think the fear of failure is just something that you have to completely disregard, because that's the only thing you have to fear is fear itself, right?
Exactly.
So I think that negative energy, that paranoia, can really bring you down if you don't know how to properly manage it.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to find positivity in all things, whether it be managing multiple deadlines with maps, all the events that we're planning, kind of understanding what different aspects that we have to complete first, what the runway is for some of our later things we have going on, especially with maps.
Touch on runway and how that helps your time management.
So I think that when I find the runway longer, I see that I don't really have, it's not my highest priority.
Yeah.
I kind of push it back to things that have a shorter runway. And that's when the stress starts to build up, because I'm thinking, okay, I need to get this done as soon as possible, and I have to fulfill all of these different aspects of it so that it all comes together. But then in the back of my mind, I also have those other things that I'm pushing back because the runway is a lot longer.
Yeah.
So then that's when it starts to build up, and you just have to be able to be composed in a time like that, because, okay, this first thing is going to need to get done, obviously, but then you have all of these tertiary things that are going to build up. So you have to kind of manage what you have to do first, and then get that done, check off that box, on to the next thing, check that off. And then finally, you have this list of all of these accomplishments, and you get to see the end product, really, of all of your effort.
Do you see with the balancing of all your activities, do they keep you on your toes? Are you bouncing around? Are you able to have that mind to just balance everything out? Is on the toes aspect?
Definitely, yeah. I always have to be on my toes, whether it's with lacrosse, maps, as a student, having a part-time job. I'm constantly busy. I always have something to do, and I feel like being busy, being occupied, being able to stay on my toes, it's only going to prepare me for the future more than if I was just a student, if I didn't play a sport, if I wasn't involved in maps and I didn't have a part-time job. I feel like if I wasn't busy, I'd get dragged down.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have something to occupy me. I would have a lot more distractions.
Busy people get the most done.
You're right.
It's very
right.
true. It's very true. When you stack different obligations and different activities, you find yourself having less free time, but the time you're using up is valuable time. And you're getting stuff done. You're knocking stuff out of the way and adding to that checklist. You're checking things off. And doesn't that feel good?
Oh, it does. It's really like, it's satisfying at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate that. I definitely appreciate you being on the show. Is there any takeaways that you have gotten from MAPS that have helped with your composure and how you go about things?
Yeah, I definitely think that being involved in an extracurricular activity other than a sport has really helped me develop as like a professional, being able to manage my time efficiently, having other obligations outside of our e-board meetings and just our general meetings on Tuesdays. I think that having all of this additional homework kind of helps me manage my obligations. You know, it's just like gives me more of a sense of purpose than just being a student.
Exactly. And you're super well-rounded, and I love you for that.
Thank
MAPS
you.
loves you. You're doing great. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.